Okay.
All right, I'm going to call to order tonight's meeting of the Finance Committee. It's Monday, May 18th, 2020. The time is 4:33. I'm Laura McNally. I'm the 5th Ward City Council Person and Chairwoman. I am going to do the roll call for tonight's meeting for everyone who's joined us here. Got Rick Deek, Anita Davis, 6th Ward City Council, Basha Adamczak, 7th Ward City Council, Chuck Shasho, Dawn Turnage, Domain Kitchen, Council President Aaron Bishop, Harry Johnson, Jennifer Ozinger, Julius Oliver, 1st Ward City Council, Kevin Flynn, Kyle Mizak, Mayor Brown, Mike Durkin, Mike Ray, 4th Ward City Council, Nikki Posterly, Samantha Turner, 3rd Ward City Council, Valencia Morrow, Chief Finley, Chief Lees, Jean Leeson, and Jeff Limbian. Okay, that's everyone. So we will start under ordinances. Number 1, there are questions for Kyle on the sale of our notes. Okay. On item number 2, same topic, different facility. Any questions for Kyle on this one? And this is something we traditionally do. No questions. All right. Number 3, this is a wastewater treatment plant. Questions for Chuck on this? Samantha?
Yeah, Chuck, I just wanted to understand, I'm sorry I wasn't here when this happened. This is just an administrative fee? Or is that how I understand it?
Chuck, go ahead. Unmute yourself, Chuck.
Sorry about that. Through the chair. First of all, I'm sorry I didn't get some notes out to you guys like I did last week. I didn't get to that today. But yes, this is an administrative fee from Eastgate. Anytime that we get grant money from Eastgate, they charge a percentage of the grant amount. This was for the electrical improvements 0% interest loan that we got back in 2016. So we're required to pay their 1.5% service fee back to Eastgate.
Anita?
Yeah, to the chair, Chuck, what was the total amount that we received?
Chuck?
No.
Through the chair, it was a couple $1 million, I believe. It was a 0% interest loan. It was a small portion of the project. We used, basically what we did is we used it to pre-purchase some equipment. Yeah, the total project was about $9 million, but I think we borrowed 0%. We borrowed, I want to say it was a little over $1 million, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on this topic? Anything else on this topic? Okay, I'll move on to item number 4. Samantha?
I'm sorry, is it a loan or was it a grant?
Oh, are you going back to number 3?
Number 3, yes, I'm sorry. Through the
Okay,
chair.
that's okay. Chuck?
Yes, through the chair. It was a loan.
Okay.
Also, if it's okay, I'll go on to number 4 since you just brought it up. This is also an administrative fee, but this is for the Ohio Water Development Authority, which would be the balance of the financing. This one is actually for the primary settling tanks.
Any more questions here on number 4, or any questions at all on number 4? Nope, all good. Okay. Number 5,
Going back to that one, that is the last payment under the first phase of any payments that we would make into OWDA. Now, this was our last loan application, so we will no longer see additional charges unless we start phase 2.
Oh,
So that was number 4, going back to 3 and 4, right, Kyle? That's what you were talking about there.
Well, number 4 with OWDA, yes, because with all of the loans, right now we're about to pay the last 2. One of them is under 25,000. It's on Board of Control's agenda tomorrow, and this is the next to last one that was requiring council approval because it was over 25K. But these were the last 2 loans that were awarded by OWDA that we are now finally paying the admin fee. And once those 2 projects are done, that will be part of our debt service schedule going forward, that the rate increase is going to help accommodate. But this is the last one that you should be seeing under phase 1.
So then you're saying we did indeed receive the loan that we were trying to get at the beginning of the year?
Through the chair, we actually received 3 loans or 2 loans that we were trying to get, and Chuck can verify that correctly. But yes, we have in essence been awarded all of the loans that we were waiting on.
Chuck, did you have anything additional there?
Through the chair, no, we did, it was 2 loans. Then the additional extension of the loan for the 96-inch sewer to cover some of the additional costs when we extended it.
Any further questions on this? So you now have the money to complete phase 1 of the project, part 1 of the project?
Through the chair, no, we have not received the actual proceeds. They've been awarded, and now we are just waiting for these admin fees to get paid, and then they will be, one project will be a reimbursement because we expended the funds last year, and then the other project will be a reduction of expenditures this year because those projects are ongoing.
Okay. Any further discussion here?
through the chair. Oh,
Anita?
yes, through the chair. So, but once we receive all these funds, that will be applied to the phase 1, and phase 1 will then be able to be completed. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. Once those projects are finished, phase 1 will be finished.
Good. Congratulations.
Okay. All right. Number 5. This is the, any questions for the police chief on number 5? Samantha?
Chief, can you just explain to me a little bit about ShotSpotter, like what's how it's benefited us since its induction and how it helps? What's the response rate? Those like questions.
Chief Lees?
Here. Oh, he was here.
Can you unmute yourself? Chief? We don't seem to have audio for him, so perhaps he can try to reconnect and we can come back to that towards the end of the meeting and see if we can grab him again.
Okay, do you have me now?
Oh,
Hello?
yeah, we got you. We got you now, Chief.
Okay. All right. Well, I apparently had to unmute *6 and then the button on my phone as well. Through the chair, to answer the Councilwoman's question, it's a gunshot detection system that's deployed on the south side. It aids us in what would be a quick response to gunshots, and frequently the 2 problems we encounter is that a lot of times when folks call in or don't call in, we'll still get the alert. The other thing is that it pinpoints where the shots took place. A lot of times when you would have folks call in, particularly late at night, the echo and again, where the noise originates from is hard for them to figure out. So this pinpoints it, and we're able to make a more or better response to the location and more quickly, obviously.
Through the chair.
Anita?
Yeah, well, Chief, though, I do have a question about the ShotSpotter. How does that help to impact on our crime reduction? What's the impact of it?
Well, I can give you two quick examples because, frankly, I questioned it the first year I was in office, and in that year, the first thing was it led us to the location of a homicide, and the quick response that we got there, where you were able to recover evidence that might have been gone had we had to wait and then discover the crime scene later, which would have likely occurred given where it had happened. In addition to that, during a pursuit on the south side, we again had a lot of noise. There were two men that were armed that bailed out of a car. As a result of the ShotSpotter system, we went back and had to re-examine the front of one of the cruisers to find out that one of the men actually shot at one of our officers, which of course we were able to validate that another crime had occurred there other than just the chase. So in those two instances, and these kind of things happen from time to time, we've actually been able to make arrests as a result of responses to the ShotSpotter system because some people have just kind of forgotten that it's there. So it's led to, again, arrests, recovery of weapons, and like I said, those other two examples. So that's why we continue to subscribe to it. And frankly, I'd like to expand it, but there's just not money to do that.
That is my question. It's like, if it's so good, then why aren't we expanding this? I mean, we don't have a comparison of how much better it would be for the other sides of town if we had this in place, or how much worse it would be on the south side. And I do know the area that you're talking about, Chief, because I know where that body was at, unfortunately, and I also know about the second shooting because I was at that one too. But I mean, is this the best system that's out there? And is this the best thing for our buck?
This is actually the only system that's out there for this, and that is as effective as it is. In fact, most of the large cities that have had problems with gun violence have subscribed to this. Chicago has expanded in a big way their ShotSpotter system. I'm trying to think. There was other major city that again expanded in response to their gun violence. So it's kind of the standard right now, and so we're not going to find somebody that's cheaper. Or the other thing is they provide us forensic reports to the detectives that have also helped in a number of ways as the cases go to court.
And it's just through the chair, a follow-up?
Go ahead, Anita.
Okay. I just wondered, is this the same price every year, Chief? Or is it
no.
up or down?
It goes up a little bit each year.
Okay, how far up? How much has it increased this year?
This year it was a little over 4,000, not quite 5.
Okay.
Samantha?
Yes, through the chair. So am I to understand that this isn't so much a tool that we use for crime reduction, but more for awareness?
Well, I think you could put it in both categories because it's crime reduction in the fact that we're able to go out there and respond to these things in a timely fashion. And where we're making arrests and taking guns off the street, I looked at as a crime reduction where we haven't had an actual crime occur, because it's not unusual for us to respond to calls of what would be celebratory gunfire or just, literally test firing a gun, and we're able to intervene at that point. And again, on the other side, it does alert us to where a crime has occurred frequently.
Through the chair.
Julius?
Are we doing the hand raising or just the interjecting through the chair?
If you could raise your hand, that's preferable. But if I don't see you, then yeah, yell.
Okay, thank you. I didn't have a question. I was just, I didn't get acknowledged the last time my hand was up, so I was just.
I'm sorry. Yeah, yell if I don't see you. I'm trying my best here.
All right, thanks.
Anita, did you have another question?
No, not Chief. So you would think we should continue this for another year? I mean, I'm really not a great fan of this because what I see is that it doesn't, I don't see it as reducing crime, chief. But right now we're in a, this is about finances, but I'm not sure if I see where it reduces crime. It might help you to know that something took place after the fact, but it doesn't deter anyone from, it has never deterred anyone from shooting at someone, but there's no way to show that. Go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, if they're determined, yeah, they're going to shoot at somebody. But the other side of this is there are folks out there who are aware that it's in place, and for that reason, I think there's another prevention aspect to it. But as I said, alerting us to an accurate crime scene or where the shots were fired, and a lot of times the forensic reports are helpful to us as well. So I would, and in fact, like I said, the first year I questioned it, but each year it unfortunately it costs what it cost, but I think it tends to prove its worth to us.
Anita.
Chief, so does this just renew the licensing of it, or is there new equipment that's involved?
Through the chair, it's a renewal of the contract, which includes the maintenance of the equipment and the system.
Thank you.
Julius.
Chief, through the chair, Chief, is it better for people to know what's out there, or better for them not to know what's out there?
Through the chair, it kind of works both ways. Some of them, again, like I said, are naive. They fire the shots. We get up on them, and we're able to take a gun off the street and identify the individual. In some cases, honestly, I think the ones that are determined have the attitude they're going to outrun the system. Yeah, they might know that good shots were fired here, but by the time the cops get here, I'll be gone. So, that's the best answer I can give you on that.
Thanks, Chief.
Anyone else? Okay, we will move on to item number 6. Any questions about the Marshall Street pump station for Chuck? Samantha?
Chuck, can you give us an update on the project about where it is and how far we have left to go?
Chuck.
Sure. Thank you, through the chair. Right now, the project is complete to the extent that the force main from the pump station to the 96-inch sewer has been completed. We'll be running the pumps and testing the force main over the next week, and then begin tearing down the bypass pumping and backfilling.
Okay. Through the chair, follow up. So do we have an end cost? Because right now I'm seeing that since last year we spent $844,000, and this will take us up to 1.2. So what's the, again, I mean, I asked this before, but what's the roof on it? Where are we going? How much farther do we have to go with this completion? Or do you have have they given you a project layout and how much left we need to do and expend towards the pump station?
Through the chair. This piece of legislation is for the months of, I believe, February and March. We still have the April bill to go yet. And there was some work that was not being performed in May. So the bill from May should be a little bit less. But generally speaking, this takes us to the point where the force main wasn't necessarily under the river yet. There was a lot of obstructions in the river, and there was a lot of problems with getting the force main under the river, getting the directional bore under the river. There was some railroad issues. You're going to see a piece of legislation coming up on the next couple pieces here that deals with the railroad issue that we had. So it was just a project that wasn't an easy project. It's never easy when you get into an emergency situation and you don't have a proper design to go from, the well thought out design. I mean, you're trying to come up with solutions on the fly, and this is the kind of stuff that ends up happening. Unfortunately, we didn't have the option to just sit around and wait a year for a design to come through. So this is the situation we're dealt with. I would say that we're probably, after this bill, we would be less than, I hate to even put a number out there, but I'm gonna say we would be less than probably 300,000 to 400,000 left. I don't know if Gene Leeson's on the line. If he has something to add to that, he can. If he has more information than I do, he's a little bit more involved in it at this point than I have been over the last few weeks.
So, to follow up, and if Gene wants to jump in, so have they not, I know this happened back in last year and it was emergency at that point and they kind of had to do a lot to get started, but have they not produced kind of, this is going to cost us $2 million or where we're going with this number? I'm, like I said, and I keep asking the question is that these bills, even though next month might be a little less, they're still substantial, and we are now at 1.2 million, and it's just been open-ended. So I would like to know like where we're going with it and if they can provide that.
Sure. Okay. The thing is now the project is complete now. It's just backfill and restoration is complete. So the only bills we're going to see, there's some work that was already done that we haven't been billed for yet because they have to tally up all their bills and so forth, and they submit them after they're all calculated. So the bills are always behind. So the project will be long since complete, and we'll still be getting another bill or two. Let's not forget that this was not the intent of this project. The intent of the project was to excavate down and repair the existing force main. That wasn't possible. The depth was too low, and the pipe was, to be quite honest, non-existent anymore. There was nothing to repair. It was just literally blowing out the side of the river, so there was no pipe left to really repair. We had no other option at that point than to install a new force main. That was never the plan from the beginning. The beginning was just to go down like you would a water main in the street, fix the pipe and move on. It didn't work out that way, unfortunately, when you get into such situations. That's how we ended up where we're at.
Understood. What do you know? Do you remember the cost of the original plan?
Through the chair, the original plan was when we discovered the leaking pipe back in October. The plan was to excavate down. Being that it's so close to the river, the excavation is pretty complicated and dangerous. As they kept going deeper and deeper and finding no pipe to repair, we had to abandon that process and move on to installing a new force main. There was never really a plan drawn up to repair it. It was dig down, find it, and repair it. That was the plan. There was nothing on paper other than the existing plans that we had. Originally this pump station and that force main was installed in the 1940s.
Samantha.
Just one more follow-up. So you said right now the project is complete and we're just waiting for the last few invoices.
Yes.
All right. And if you could, I don't know if you can talk to them about what that looks like and so we can, put this to bed. But like I said, it's just unnerving that we're at 1.2 million. It's still, we understand it was emergency in October and what else we need to do to kind of wrap this up, because I know we have some more legislation coming behind having to do with the station. So that would be a great piece of information if they could provide it.
I think Julius had a question, but
Julius.
Thank you. Through the chair, Chuck. I know through the years we've probably got a great amount of precedent sets for a lot of these jobs. Is there ever a time when we negotiate with our contractors, we negotiate a cap from the beginning, like we're trying to work within $1 million for this, can you make this happen? Or is it always just like a pay as you go, and like this job kind of is, the more you get into it, the more it costs, rather than presenting a cap from the beginning, especially for jobs that I don't know if this job was bid out or not, but is there a cap at all ever?
Chuck.
Through the chair, there isn't in a job like this, because legally you can't put a cap on until a contractor gives me a not to exceed price when you yourself have no idea what they're going to run into. If the job was bid and we had a set of plans, then the contractor would build it and would be able to give you a price according to the plans. If we had time to generate those plans, maybe we would have. Unfortunately, even in this situation, the situation that we came up against as we were excavating would have been an unforeseen circumstance, and most likely been on force account anyways, because it would have varied from the plans. From what, it's not fair to a contractor when you tell them okay, bid it like this, and all of a sudden the conditions change drastically. You can't expect them to just eat it. You know, there's lots of avenues that go down with dispute resolution that addresses that. But this was not a bid job. This is what you would call on, that they refer to as force account work under the higher revised code.
Okay,
Julius.
I understand that. Second question for you, Chuck, is when I went to DC Water, what they found that is the contractors they have been working with for years were basically price gouging them. They were killing them on every job because they felt like there was nobody else to go to. This was their go-to contractor for every job. So when they went out and found other contractors, they found out they were getting a great savings by dealing with other contractors that didn't always know the city was going to come to them for every single job. So I know for a couple years now, we've been asking you, is there other contractors to do these jobs? And I know it's quite impossible for there not to be other contractors, but for us to use the same people over and over and over again, I can't help to believe that we're somehow getting taken advantage of at some times. So how are we coming with finding other contractors to do jobs in the city so we're not faced with people that are used to us coming to them and know we're going to pay what they tell us to pay regardless?
I mean,
Chuck.
through the chair, that's a fair question, Councilman. We use probably about 4 or 5, sometimes up to 6 different contractors. We select those contractors on a rotational basis depending upon what type of job it is. We have about 3 contractors that would be able to make, probably really only 2 contractors that would be able to do a job like this. We have about 4 that we rely upon to do the deep excavation sewers. And one just recently we've been using, and the only reason we use them is if, you know, if we recently became, you know, used to be working with them when they did the 96-inch sewer at the amphitheater. But we didn't realize that those types of contractors, that they were available. So now we have 4 to do the deep excavation. We have probably about 6 or 7 total that we use, I guess. But this particular contractor is set up for the deep excavation, the large sewers, that type of thing. You know, really only Merchant Gaffney that you see here, AP Ahora, and possibly utility contracting would be a 3rd option for a job like this. But it's just not something, and there are other contractors, obviously, from out of town and so forth. But in a situation like this, we're not gonna go out of town for it. We need someone that's close and get there right away. It was a true emergency. If it was bid, we would go to the lowest bidder.
Anything else, Julius?
I'm sorry. Last follow-up. Is it possible for somebody out of town or a different contractor than we used to do it cheaper?
Chuck.
And how do we know it's not possible if we're not trying?
Right, through the chair. This is the only reason that they would be able to do it cheaper is if they were to be able to do it faster, because it's literally.
I'm not saying just this particular job, Chuck. I'm talking about in general, because we use the same people for all our jobs switched around all the time, pretty much.
Well,
so I'm talking about for any one of these jobs, do we put out a feeler out there for anybody across the country that may be able to do this at a different price? Because like I said, I feel like we do get taken advantage of by using the same people over and over, and they know we got to come to them.
Okay.
Chuck.
Through the chair.
I mean, we could talk about it offline, Chuck, if you like. I'm just saying.
Okay. Sure. Just to clarify though, again, there are specific billing standards by the Ohio Department of Transportation that the contractors must follow. They're only allowed to charge so much for people. They charge and generally in most of this area it's union rates, which are prevailing wage rates. The equipment is all categorized online for the type of equipment that they use, and materials come with hard receipts. They're allowed very specific markups and only those specific markups. This particular contractor, sometimes the billing in this particular case, because they're so close, when there's idle equipment, if we had to bring someone from out of town, they're charging us for all their equipment that's there all of the time because they can't use it somewhere else. Whereas this contractor, since he's literally a block away, all this time that we're waiting for this, we're waiting for that. He's not charging us for that equipment because basically it's just really almost sitting in his yard. It's only a block away. So that saved us a significant amount of money.
I get that. Through the chair, last thing, I just would
Yes.
strongly like to see some minority contractors because I don't know of any that we use. I could be wrong, but I would strongly like to see some minority contractors because everybody needs work out there, especially right now. Thank you.
I mean, just a comment, I think it's important to note that, you know, we try to use companies in Youngstown, and this is one that is in Youngstown. So anyone else have any comments about this? Mike?
Probably just for a clarification, sometimes Chuck, maybe when you're doing a bid or you're opening them or just looking at when you put those proposals together, just letting us know so we could see them because there is so much going into government contracting. And like you said, a lot of that stuff is set. So just being able to know that. So, you know, just for educational purposes to see that, you know, how specialized some of this stuff is, or maybe we do need to, you know, explore other things. So it'd be a good learning process.
Anything else? Okay, move on to number 7. This is questions I believe might go to Nikki or Dawn. Anyone? Anita?
Yes, through the chair. Dawn, is she here?
She
Yes,
is
I'm
on.
here.
Okay, Dawn. This is just for a remodeling job at the Eugenia Center for remodeling.
Yes, through the chair, that's correct.
What kind of how old is the facility?
Through the chair, the facility is about 12 years old, but I can get the exact for you at a later date.
And follow up to the chair, what kind of remodeling will you be doing on a 12-year-old cafe?
Through the chair, the cafe was the cafe never had the stove or the hood in place. There is a spot and location, but since I wasn't here, my guesstimation would be that the job just never got completed, or maybe that was going to be an additional phase. And so at this point, that would be something that would also benefit the community, as that is also a location where revenue is brought in as a rental, and that would be the only location without that particular amenity.
A stove and what else? Follow up?
The hood, the commercial hood for the stove.
Anything else going to be done for the $32,000?
That would also include the, we did get approval through the Cdbg grant to also improve on the front desk. Right now, we have no front desk, and those individuals who are handling money there are face-to-face with our customers even before the COVID. So the safety measures too, we were able to improve and increase that type of a setting. For example, it would look like a recreational type setting when you go into, for just an example, like a Planet Fitness or something to that nature.
Anita?
Yeah, well, through the chair, is this an emergency piece that has to be done right away? Or is this something we can look at? Because I would want to see some estimates. I mean, this seems an awful lot for 2 items.
Through the chair, estimates were turned in with the grant to before we got approval for it, and the duct systems and everything that is included for the commercial stove, as well as the hood, that it is costly as far as how it has to be in place and installed. But there is the grant reimbursement for it. I don't know exactly the time frame as to when we have to utilize or use those dollars.
Kyle has something. I got a lot of hands up, so I see him.
Through the chair, Through the chair, as was put in at the Cavelli Center and also at the amphitheater, there is an entire fire protection system that goes in underneath the hood system, so that if there's ever any flare up, it actually it turns on and literally shuts everything down without a fire starting. So it's not just getting the hood. There's the whole fire suppression system that's up underneath it, as what's in the Cavelli Center and as it's what's in the amphitheater kitchen. So this commercial stove and commercial hood, it's more than just two appliances. There's other pieces to it that with regards to gas shut off, with the fire suppression and other things that are required per code.
Okay, thank you. That sounds better.
Okay, I'll move on to Mike.
Yeah, this is CDBG funds, correct? So it's they have the funding through that. Is that correct? That's what the legislation says?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And just to follow up with that, they're last year's funds, right? Are they were approved in 2019?
That's correct, through the chair.
Okay, thanks. Samantha, you had your hand up.
That was all I was gonna say, but so this is, and I just to reiterate, this will help our revenue generation. Will be able to do more complete events and putting in this stove, and because right now it's just refrigerators and a countertop, right?
Through the chair, yes, this would definitely help in that community health and nutrition target that we speak about and try to put in place for our residents through the city. One example would be Mercy Health is currently offering a fitness program that is highly used and participated. And when they actually did their how to cook, as far as the healthy nutrition, they had to use hot plates. And so I believe our residents deserve, while that class was great, they deserve also the opportunity to cook on those appliances that they have in their residence, in their home.
Okay, any other questions on this one? Okay, I'm gonna move on to number 8. These questions will go to Kyle. Anything on this? Kyle, this is the company that the state chose for us to utilize?
Yes, through the chair, it is, and it does have a minority component. A Cleveland audit firm is going to be receiving 20% of this total. That is a state requirement when they are bid. So Julian and Group will actually be responsible for the audit, but there is going to be a minority participation, and that is all as part of the agreement that Board of Control will execute if council gives us the authority tonight to enter into this agreement. But in essence, council is actually not truly giving us authority because the state actually has chosen this particular accountant firm. We're just making you aware and going through the correct procedurals that are mandated by our charter, but Board of Control will actually execute those agreements.
Anita?
Through the chair, Cal, how much more is this than what we were paying the state, or is it less?
Through the chair, Anita, this is actually less. However,
Good. Oh, okay.
the state is still going to charge us that once they receive the audit, they're going to then go through and review it. So they'll probably end up still charging us another $30,000 on top of this. But even with that, this comes in roughly $24,000 less in total after you add the two than what the state was charging us on an annual basis.
Thank you.
Any other questions here? Okay, I'm going to move on. Number 9, so our collections. Any questions here? No. All right. Number 10. This questions I think would go to Chuck again. He spoke about this one earlier in the meeting. Anyone have questions about this? Samantha?
The chair, Chuck, can you just explain to us what Norfolk will need to be doing, or what they're going to be doing? Excuse me.
Chuck.
Through the chair. Yes, through the chair. Okay, so Norfolk Southern, we had to at some point access their right of way to put the force main underneath the railroad tracks. We ran into a little problem where we had to actually get an excavator on the other side of the tracks to do an intermediate. We had to change directions of the bore basically. So we had to basically what we had to do is we had to get an excavator across the railroad tracks and dig a new receiving pit to allow us to change directions. So we needed a emergency access to get across their tracks. That required us to submit all different types of plans and so forth, and provide insurance and hire flagmen and so forth. The railroads are just very, they're very specific on what they want, and they really don't answer to anyone.
Just a direct follow-up. So you had to present them with plans for the project, or just what you were doing?
We had to actually get a set of plans together for what we were going to be excavating down next to the railroad tracks. That they're very concerned when there's a lot of weight on a train coming through there. So they're very concerned. They have this, anything, even if you're not within the right of way, if you're within what they call the line of influence of the tracks, which is deep, deep under the ground next to the railroad tracks, then they restrict. They have the right to restrict access until they're satisfied.
Okay, so Marucci and Gaffney produced plans for the project to give to Norfolk Railroad.
Through the chair, Marucci and Gaffney in conjunction with them as consultants, yes.
Okay, and did they happen to put numbers with that at all? Or just, because I mean, before we said that it was kind of like an emergency, we didn't put together like a whole, there was no like plan laid out on paper, but there had to be plans for Norfolk. So I'm just wondering if there was any numbers added to those plans, or if there can be numbers added to the plan so we can kind of see the total cost of the Marshall Street pump station before we get
through the chair. No, that's not how that, that's not the type of plans we're talking about. Design for the railroad itself. This is plans for the railroad, not to build not as a set of bid drawings for a contractor. This is to satisfy the railroad's requirements for the safety of their tracks.
Okay, I'm sorry, I might be a little bit unclear. Help me get.
There's no.
So you had to give them plans, show them the excavating that you're going to be doing near or around the tracks, or go ahead.
Yes, basically, yeah, you had to provide them with the shoring plan to show that you can, basically what we need to show is that we can support their tracks and not cause their tracks to fail, and that they are happy and that they are in agreement that yes, we're going to be able to support their railroad tracks with the shoring, the trench shoring that we have in place, which was the real detail that was, and they want to see how deep the pipe is going to be under their tracks. They want to see how we are going to stabilize the tracks during excavation to ensure that they don't collapse. That's at that point we're into so many different unknowns that I don't, there's no way to put a number on that. You don't need, the contractor doesn't even know what they're digging up.
Chuck, didn't we have a situation like this come up last year too, where we had to pay the railroads?
Through the chair, it was the same railroad that was probably the area down at Crab Creek. We deal with railroads all the time. They're notoriously, difficult to deal with. They don't answer to anybody. They don't answer to the federal government.
Samantha? Oh, you're good. Okay, any other questions here? Okay. Move on. Number 11. This is a grant, accepting a grant. Any questions under this one, Anita?
Yeah, through the chair, Chief, is this or Kyle, is this a one that's already included in the budget, or is this a unexpected funding?
Through the chair. Oh, you want to speak, Chief?
No, go ahead, Kyle.
This is a request to, one, give us the authority to enter into the grant agreement, and two, it's to appropriate those monies. Those monies will be forwarded to this city through Kent State. We are a pass-through, and with those funds, there will be contracts that Board of Control execute to utilize those funds. But this is the actual grant that the city applied, and we are a subrecipient where Kent State is in charge of actually administering it, and they will funnel the funds to us, and Board of Control will execute contracts to spend these funds for the purposes of the grant.
That's okay.
Good. Anything else on this one? Okay. Don't see anything. I'll move on. Number 12. This is the exception of another grant in the fire department. Any questions for Chief Finley? I don't see anything. Okay. Number 13, this is accepting a grant for the health district, for the health department. Any questions for Aaron? Not seeing anything. Okay. Number 14, this is accepting funds for our litter control program for 2020. Questions about this one? Kyle, what percentage of the total expenditures does this cover?
Through the chair, there are two funding sources for the litter control. One is this amount of money that we get on an annual basis from the county, and the other is out of Cdbg funds where $75,000 is made available. So the budget for a calendar year is a combination of $75,000 plus these funds that come directly from the county. Also during the year, litter control will get some one-time small grant monies from the state for appliance pickups or for tire recycling. Those will be additional appropriations and also additional grant acceptances that gets added to the budget that are used to pay vendors for those services that the grant outlines. But the main budget is the combination of this amount plus the 75 that comes from Cdbg funds.
Anita?
Through the chair. So are any of these funds used towards the wages?
Through the chair, yeah. These funds, the combination of the funds are used to pay the salary of Bob Burke and his assistant. So between the two of them with benefits and payroll, it works out to roughly about 114,000 of it covers payroll, benefits, and medical insurance for the two employees, and the remainder is used for operating and for administering programming.
Thank you.
Anything else on this one? Not seeing anything. Okay. We will move on to number 15. That is appropriating the grant for the health department. So probably nothing there. Hey, Aaron, do you want to just, since this is kind of a brand new one, COVID-19 funding, do you want to just maybe tell us a little bit about what this is going to specifically be used for?
Through the chair, just to let you know that this is a very small amount. At the beginning of when this all went down, we each health department, there's 113, received $5,000 for to do whatever we wanted to do with it. So next on our next city council meeting, you'll be seeing we got a $71,000 grant as well as an additional $58,000. So we haven't gotten that money given to us yet, so that's why it hasn't come to you. But what we're looking to do with all of those funding combined is we did do like the two commercials that you've seen on the TV, commercials you're hearing on all the radio stations, and we have someone doing our contact tracing. She's kind of leading our way. It was our coordinator that was doing our accreditation, and because obviously accreditation's on hold now through the state, we were just using her to do the contact tracing because she has a master's in public health and a minor in epidemiology. We're also going to be able to use the funding to hire a few more contact tracers. ODH did a whole application for contact tracers, so we're going to be working with Ohio Department of Health. We also purchased the signs that you all took to your constituents. We were able to get shirts and do some things with the SERVE program, those at-home challenges. And then we were able to buy some PPE for our first responders and for the folks at the health department. And I'm trying to think what else. That's about it. But there's, other things that maybe you could think of, you can let us know. I'd like to purchase a little bit more PPE, especially to have at the courthouse, because we are going to require people to have a mask on. And if they don't have a mask on, we'll be able to supply them with one. But we'd like to tell people that in this way, they don't just assume they come in and get a free mask. But for those that say they can't, let us know, and then we'll be able to give them a mask to come into our courthouse or to the building where the health department is.
Are we using any of the money to buy PPE stuff or revamping how we maybe clean for any of our workers in the departments that have been essential?
Yeah, so all the departments, actually, I just got an email from Nancy in the mayor's office, and we just got like over 3,000 masks. So we'll be able to pass that out to all of our employees to have, a few masks for each employee. But, I don't know, we don't really have any money for necessary for cleaning supplies, but we're able to, like I said, to do the masks. And then, they're really pushing away from gloves. We're really just looking at hand sanitizer. Anything you read, CDC, ODH is really talking about just using the obviously soap and water, but if you don't have that, to use the hand sanitizer and just to stay away from the gloves. The gloves are more, they feel, pass the germs more than just continue to wash your hands. So we're going to try to make sure that everyone has that as people return back to work. And I know we have them in right when you walk in the health department, right before the birth and death certificates. We have a station for hand sanitizing, and if we could do some more of those. I think there's one in City Hall, and there's one upstairs by the court. So anything that we can do like that, we're able to just kind of let us know.
So have we provided any PPE for, say like our wastewater guys or at the fire station where everyone's working super close together, or have they been on their own?
No, the fire station, all the firefighters, they get all of their PPE through the EMA. So I know they got all their N95 masks through the EPA. They had their gowns. Anything they've gotten has been through the EMA. And then we helped with the water department. Wastewater had their own, but Dawn and I, or the mayor, we sent out lists to anyone that needed, and they asked us, and we were able to fulfill those if they needed it. And like I said, we're still waiting on some masks, but we just got them yesterday. So more people should be getting those.
Okay. I just have one last question, and then I know I have hands raised here. Do you have like a document or something that gives you parameters for how you can use it, or is it super just open-ended? There was absolutely no parameters that came with the funding.
No, we have through the Ohio Department of Health. They have pretty strict, what we can use it for each domain, and then we have to say how we're doing it, and then everything has to be broken down. So that's considered, that PPE is under a domain that we can do. But most of it, they really are pushing the whole contact tracing and really they want us to put a lot of the money into hiring people to do that. And then with the testing, right now they're giving free tests, but we're not able to do like an actual do an open test yet because they're not fully there yet. But eventually I could see that happening, but we wouldn't have to pay for it. ODH is getting a whole bunch of tests, and they're kind of giving us as we can, whether it's to the jails. Right now we had a little problem in the prisons recently, so we're able to give them money. We're able to give the nursing homes money, or I'm sorry, money testing. And so it kind of just depends on where ODH gets where they want the money to go.
Okay. Anita?
Through the chair. So how much have we spent on signs and t-shirts?
That was 5,000.
Okay, and what's the purpose of the t-shirts?
That was a program through the SERVE program.
But it's using COVID money.
It is for advertising.
Okay, now have we purchased any masks for our citizens? Because a t-shirt and a sign is going to help anyone who can't afford a mask to go out in public. So
Right.
Do we have anything planned for purchasing masks in bulk? I mean, massive bulk that
Yeah.
we can distribute to our citizens who are in need.
Yes, we do. And we're going to be, as soon as we get them all in, we're going to make little packets with masks as well as hand sanitizers we're going to bring them to like at least high rises. And if you want to ask us, we'll be able to give you some, that's our whole plan to do.
Through the chair,
Julius?
as part of the purpose for the signs and the t-shirts were basically to help boost the morale in the city, to have everybody come together and participate in keeping each other safe together. I just want to throw that out there.
Yes. Thank
Through
you.
the chair.
Anita?
Through the chair, where are these t-shirts? Because who has them on? Who's wearing them? How are people seeing them?
Julius?
I got a t-shirt. I wear it.
Well, that's nice.
I don't have it on today, but I got my t-shirt from Guy Burney. I got my signs. I still have to give to my neighborhood association leaders for them to pass it on. I'm passing them out amongst the neighborhood associations. Pretty much everything I got from SERVE department.
Anita?
I'm going to reserve my comment because, I'm really disgusted with the idea of this t-shirts. I mean, a sign I could see, you can distribute them everywhere, but unless you see Julius wearing a t-shirt, no one's seeing these t-shirts except for a handful of people, So I'm done.
Samantha?
Done.
Anita, I requested from Guy some shirts and I've given them to some of my block watch captains, and as well as along with their signs. So that might be a conversation to have with him to get the things that you need for your side of town or your community. But I wanted to, this is kind of maybe a little bit of a sidebar, Aaron, for the PPE for our city departments. Is there a portal that we can get that through and you don't have to go on the open market in the event that the water department or police or the city hall employees might need them? Or do you have to go onto the open market to get those items for our city workers?
No, we're trying to keep it to one distributor. And I know the last one we made was with Cintas, just because they were already a distributor through the city. But we're trying to keep it so we get more, bang for our buck if we use one company.
Okay, so there's not like a state portal for municipalities or city governments to get items that you need because of the strain.
If we had a ton of them and we were able to get them through the EMA, but right now, they're still hard to come by, so we have to unfortunately purchase a lot of the stuff.
Any other questions on this item? Okay. That was, sorry, losing my track here. That was number 15. So we are moving on to number 16. This is appropriating the grant to the police department that we spoke about earlier in the meeting. Any further questions about this particular grant? Nothing? Okay. Number 17. These are the funds that we are receiving annually into the amphitheater, for the amphitheater. Questions around these? I don't see anything. Have there been any decisions announced about events lately in the downtown area for the summer? To the mayor?
Through the chair, there have not been any announcements yet. The mass gatherings you probably won't see for the next 3 to 6 months. So you can just kind of look at your calendar, things that are happening. Already you're seeing people that are probably cancel their 4th of July events. So it's going to be a very lean time for the next 3 to 6 months about like mass gatherings. Because if you saw what happened this weekend when local bars and restaurants opened in Columbus, Cincinnati, and other places throughout Ohio, they started congregating and had mass gatherings. So there's a couple pieces that are going to happen before we'll see any of these mass gatherings happen. But the amphitheater, I know many of the artists, even the ones we had scheduled, have not rescheduled those events yet.
So we're still planning on holding them then? Is that what you're saying?
No, right now, you probably won't see any for the next 3 to 6 months.
Okay, so events right now are postponed through the summer downtown. And does that, Kyle, affect our contract with any of these funding sources that have come? Kyle?
Through the chair. No, the Ween Foundation and Home Savings said that there was going to be no interruption. They were going to funnel those funds through the city to the amphitheater and to the Cavelli Center. The park will be taken care of with those funds from Ween, and those monies that are coming from Home Savings will be in essence set aside, and next year or in the fall, if something can occur, they will be used towards that. And those monies will then, if not used, be part of next year's expanded Home Savings festival, if we are able to, per the governor, have those types of events next calendar year. So there's still a lot of unknowns, but both of those nonprofits said there was going to be no hindrance of funneling those monies under those arrangements.
Any other questions from anyone else? Okay, I'm going to move on then. And our last item here, number 18, is just appropriating that money into the litter control fund. So any further discussion around that one? Nope. Okay, that is everything under pending legislation. Anything under miscellaneous? Nothing up for discussion. Kyle, we're obviously through Q1 and hitting the end here. I know normally we have quarterly updates with you. Is that something you want to try to do virtually for Q1 and Q2, or just Q1? Or do you want to wait maybe till the end of summer? Or how do my colleagues on the committee also feel about our, resuming our quarterly update meetings?
I'd
Kyle?
like to resume the quarterly update meetings if
Oh,
that's
Samantha,
possible.
sorry.
Sorry, through the chair. If that's possible, Kyle, I would like to resume the quarterly update meetings, as not to pile it in or push it back too far. Just kind of move as we normally would.
Kyle?
Through the chair. I think that makes a ton of sense. I would like to, I can get out the data for the first quarter. It's going to look rosy because again, we were on target for our revenues, and what you're going to see, which will be helpful for you per the administration and rolling out us reducing expenditures. What I'd like to do is provide you with not just a quarterly review, give you a quarterly and then give you a 1/3 of the year, which will take you through April, so that you can start to see when you do a comparison, how we have slowed down actually expending our funds. Payroll, you're not going to start seeing those savings until you get into May's numbers because of the voluntary layoffs. But I'd like to at least show you some of the totals where you can see that even though our revenue forecasts were in line with our budget and our spending totals that you appropriated were accommodated by those revenues, we've actually slowed down our spending. And I'd like to be able to show you that. And I think you'll be able to see that when you look at the 1/3 year comparison, because things changed dramatically once March started. And I'd like to give you an update. So you let me know through Valencia when you'd like to schedule this. And if I could have at least a week, I can get that data together and get that out to you.
Okay. Anything from Basha or Anita from the committee standpoint on this?
I like as many updates as possible. You know, if we could have it every other week, I'd be a happy camper. That's just me.
Okay, then we will work offline to get something scheduled. Thanks. All right. I don't have anything else from anyone under miscellaneous. I will just go ahead with motion. Basha, you want to give it to me?
Yes, thank you through the chair. I would like to make a motion to forward ordinances 1 through 18 to the council floor for consideration of passage.
Second.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned at 5:39. Thank you, everybody. Rick, I will give it back to you.